In December 2003, Positive Talk Radio, the show that I created and had hosted for the last year on KKNW 1150 AM, closed. I was devastated. And in the intervening 13 years, my life read like a bad country music song. My dad died. My dog died. My wife left me. I lost my house, had to declare bankruptcy, and was sued for $50,000. I never thought that I'd be able to do radio again. I never thought that I even had the passion to do this again. Well, times have changed. And you know what? We're back. Welcome to the new Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald. I'm your host. This show is very similar to the show that was created 13 years ago. We're going to talk to great people doing great things, and I hope that you'll stay and be part of it. And you will learn a lot, and I will learn a lot. So stay with me right now as we begin our journey together on Positive Talk Radio. Why, hello there, and welcome to Positive Talk Radio, the podcast. My name is Kevin McDonald, and today we're going to talk with Amy Satori. She is an energy healer, an animal communicator, and psychic medium. All these things have to do with, of course, energy. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. I hope you enjoy the entire interview. I had a lot of fun with it. She is truly a remarkable human being. So I hope that you'll stay with us, and we're going to talk to Amy right now.
And again, we're talking with Amy Satori. By the way, if you want to go to her website, www.amysatori.com, and you can learn a lot more about what it is that she does. So with that, I'd like to welcome Amy to the show. Good morning, Amy. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. I'm great. Thank you.
Very good. Now, last time we talked a little bit about your background and where you came from, and today I want to talk about the foundation of your work, which is, simply put, in one word, is energy. Correct?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, please describe for us, when you think and the terms that you use for energy, what is it exactly that you are describing?
I am describing source energy that is being dictated by your higher self in different forms. They're not quite forms that normal people see, like in physical form, but they're different shapes and colors and things that I'm able to see, where they can interpret, or I can interpret ideas they're trying to convey. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Where does this energy come from? Is it from what I have read and what I understand? Everything is, at the end of the day, everything is energy.
Yeah.
And we're energy, a rock is energy, everything's moving.
When you have
all
a
the time.
thought, yeah, when you even have a thought, it's energy, and it's like rippling out everywhere.
Wow.
So when you add intention to it, you can make that energy look like anything. Really, it's fairly easy to manipulate energy.
It may be for you, but for us mere mortals, it's hard, because you seem to have a sensitivity to energy from spirit guides, from the other side, from our bodies, from yourself, from your guides. How does that all work?
It's funny because I started out as an interpreter for my mom because she was handicapped when I was little. And I think I was always trying to convey my mom's message to people and help her understand them and them understand her. So it kind of started like that. And then when I started to work with energy, I just kind of, flipped that over into the energetic realm. And I found that I'd be working on somebody, and then I would see like a spot or some kind of like a baseball or a shape or something would show up in their energy field, and it would have like different textures. It would have different elements to it. Like sometimes they would have an indentation, which meant that this was an issue that goes further back. Sometimes it would be like straight edges. Other times it's real soft. So it's like everything about it is a different aspect of it to be looked at. it all means something. And so I would try to interpret for the person. It's like they can't see whatever this is. So I would start to describe to them, I see a red ball. And depending on where it is in their body, it represents something different. So like above their heads is subconscious thoughts. So I started to just, the more I've worked on people, the more I've kind of created a code between me and the other realm. Because they're always wanting to communicate these ideas to us. And it can be difficult unless you know how to kind of put the pieces together.
Let's talk about that for just a second, because a lot of people are under the impression that we're alone in, well, number one, we're alone in our bodies. We are always searching for companionship from other people, but many of us don't realize, and even people that are devout and who pray a lot don't realize the connectivity that we have in a very real way with the other side and on a moment-by-moment basis. Has that been your experience? Do you find that to be true?
You would not believe the things I've seen that really have blown my mind. We are definitely far from being alone. There are beings around us, and they are a part of us. They are us, in a sense. But we are surrounded by these beings all the time, and they are like on the edge of their seat. They can't wait to see what we're going to say or do next. It's like a spectator sport. We're the most exciting thing. And they're just like, is she going to be honest about this thing finally? Is she going to speak up? Is she going to, I remember one time I was working on a video, and I was really pouring my heart into it, and it felt like a really passionate a passionate subject. Project, yes, thank you. And I was really into it, and all of a sudden I became aware that I felt like, oh my gosh, wait a second, I'm not alone here. And then I looked up over my shoulders, and I saw like 10 really super tall beings, like leaning over me at what I was typing. And I looked up and I started laughing. I was like, holy cow, this must be important stuff. But, that's happening all the time. We think that we're alone, and we're not at all. And they're just waiting for us to notice them.
Isn't it amazing when you think about it? Put it into context, Amy. There are 7 billion human beings walking the planet currently. So if we each have 10 to 20 people that are looking out after us on the other side, how many souls or how many energies are out there for us?
Well, you want to hear something really trippy? Is all of those beings on the other side are connecting with all of us at the same time.
Okay, now I've gone into brain freeze. I'm not quite sure.
Exactly. I mean, it's not even like that's how small we think. That, I'm having, that's why people have trouble with God. It's like, okay, so I'm going to take up all God's attention and talk to him for 5 minutes right now. Yeah, right, But that's not really what's going on. God can have a million conversations going on right now at once. He's not limited that way. Source energy is not like that. It goes it's like air. It's tough to keep air out of something. You can't
really
keep source out of anything. You can't keep energy out of anything. It's everywhere, and everything is all the same substance. It's all the same thing. It's all just energy. So it's all we all have this experience of it just happening right now to us. But there's a much, much bigger picture going on.
So from your experience, the things that we tend, even when you look at religious philosophy or spirituality and its philosophies, they're all woefully inadequate to what's actually happening. Would that be correct?
Yes. Vastly.
Because we look at it from a very simplistic term. I equate it to 2,000 years ago, they thought, even 1,000 years ago, they thought that the stars in the sky were light shining through from heaven.
Right.
They didn't realize that there were planets and galaxies upon universes, and the universe is a big place, but and all the galaxies, and we still don't know how big the universe is and how many galaxies there are. And so if we put that into context of the other side and that realm and that spirituality, the scope and magnitude is just beyond our comprehension.
It really is. I agree completely.
And we're talking with Amy Satori, and you can go to www.amysatori.com, and you can get all the information that you need about her, the work that she does, how she can help you, how her energy work, which is really what it comes down to, is it's just energy work. It's energy work that she does an incredible job with, and to bring things to light for you. But ultimately, what Amy, and correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, but isn't your passion to help people understand that, number one, this energy exists, number two, how they can tap into it to achieve their own better health, better happiness, better lives? Isn't that what your goal is?
Yeah, and beyond.
Oh,
beyond
right,
that.
beyond.
Beyond would be that we realize who we truly are, that we really are energy beings. We're not these personalities, that we are essentially pure love, just making stories up about it not being love, and that we will ultimately go back to that place of love when we die, but that this life means nothing if we don't come back to realizing who we are and coming from that place of love and reuniting with ourselves, with God, with our source.
Well, now, let me ask you, because you brought up an interesting question. When we die, do we get to keep our personality? I kind of like mine a little bit. Do I get to keep it, or do I? What happens to us, and what changes do we go through on the other side?
Oh my gosh, what a question! Oh, this has been so interesting for me to watch this type of thing, because it's almost like two things are happening simultaneously. There's and this is just my perception of this. So, other people have had other experiences of this, and this is just, like I said, through my eyes. This is what appears to happen is there's when somebody dies, they either go toward the light, and then they kind of go, it seems like they go through an evaluation of their life. They go through an interview or whatnot. I know that to be the case. And then they can either, get an assignment, become some kind of a guide for somebody, or they can reunite with family for a while, or they can go play and do fun things that they really love to do. There's any number of different things that they can do. And sometimes even if they choose to even reincarnate into somebody, or they choose to go play in the playground, or they choose to, if they choose something like that, they can still, a part of them or an aspect of them can still communicate with their loved ones. It's really mind-blowing. So I have people ask me, where are my relatives? Where is this relative? And I can feel out where they're at, what they've been doing. So that's really amazing. And then if they don't go toward the light, then I think here's what hell is, I think. It seems to be that we stay the same people we are, with the same judgments and the same anxieties as we have, only we can't do a thing about it but watch. We're here in our bodies right now, so we can do something about it. There's something we can do. We can reach out to somebody, we can get help, we can have conversations, we can be proactive about the problem, we can cure the addiction. We have choices while we're alive. But if you've gone to the other side because, let's say, you die and you're in judgment of something having not happened right, and, but I was waiting for my loved one to come back, or this is just not right, somebody shot me. If you're in this point of judgment when you die and you decide not to go to the light, then you're just stuck reliving certain aspects of your life over and over. But from what I understand, Well, you get lots of opportunities to go toward the light, but just like when we're down here on the earth, it's like we choose to hang on to the negative, thinking we're right and we're justified. And so that's why I'm trying to, like, my major campaign is let it go, don't judge it, love yourself, because I want them to let it go so that even if somebody does the most awful thing to them to kill them or something happens, they're going to go to the light. Because they're going to realize how irrelevant and how silly it is in the grand scheme of things. I want them to see the big picture so they just let go and go have fun on the playground.
A couple things. First of all, what you are saying to me is that first, if you don't go to the light and you decide to stay here and you're in judgment and it's happening to you over and over and over again, that's kind of like hell on earth.
Exactly. And a lot of us are already living hell. Well, we're already living heaven. It's just a continuation of it. Yeah, only now you have free will and you have choice to do what you will with it. So that's the whole thing.
That's interesting. And then if you go to the light, then you can reconnect.
The choices continue. Yeah.
And a lot of people choose, or it's beneficial for them to come back and reincarnate because of their growth and continued learning. Is that fair?
Exactly. And here's what I tell people too. Like, say they feel like there's an injustice going on in their life. Like, so-and-so really betrayed me, or this awful thing happened to me. And I'll say, okay, you can keep that judgment if you want to. That's totally fine. It's totally up to you. But what will happen is you'll die and you'll become the one who did it to you. You'll be the one who betrayed. You'll be the one who cheated. You'll be the one who lied. You'll be the one who, and then you'll switch places again the next time around, And how many times do you want to go around like that before you both realize and see the truth of it and start cracking up and letting it go and saying, thanks for the lesson. Oh my gosh, how awesome. And give each other a big hug and move on.
Is it possible that, and there are some people that when we're talking about reincarnation and we're talking about incarnating for a particular lifetime, which some people have called a stage play or a movie. Is it possible that we get together with the group of people that are all agree to come here to do things in association with each other in a really complex play for the growth of all concerned? Is that something that we do you think?
That's exactly what goes on. And, our world seems kind of, like, I know it kind of seems big, full of people and everything, but how those moments where we say, gosh, what a small world. Exactly. But it really is like the same people that follow you through from lifetime to lifetime. And, it's really weird, too. I don't know if you haven't moved around as much as I have, but I will tell you the craziest thing happens. If you move a lot, you start to see that the same key characters are there in each town. Even they'll look like them. They'll sound like them. They may have a different name, maybe a little bit of a different history, but that's them. So it's like, oh, there's Esmeralda. Oh, there's Sally. Oh, there's Fred. And you run into the same people over and over again in every town. That's because you still, you're still healing that. Yeah. You're still judging that. You're still healing that.
And that's part of the individual growth process that you've assigned yourself along with your higher self and your guides to get through in this particular life. Is that you could have a goal?
Yeah, and I will tell you, it's all so beautiful and it's all so orchestrated so incredibly, and it's all to our benefit, and it is all to our advantage, and it is all because we are so completely and entirely loved. Every bit of it.
When you say that, when you look at the world as it is and the people that are in it and behaving the way that they do, and often it's hard for someone to say, oh, it's hard to even imagine a situation or a place where love is the founding principle and everything plays off of that, because it's just not that way here.
That's what's so funny, is we have it so upside down. This world is love, and it is free will, and that's why you see all that you see. Is everyone is allowed to do whatever they want to do, and that's how much we're loved. And so we can see it however we want to see it and have it play out however we want to have it played out by putting our attention on it. And we don't realize that that's how we're creating, but that's how we're creating. So even Abraham says, Hitler and all those big events that have happened, they happened because more and more people put their attention on it. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not like the people consciously said, I want that, but by putting their attention on it, they were saying, I want that. So I tell people that...
Oh, go ahead.
Well, they'll ask me, don't you watch the news? Don't you watch all this stuff that happens? What about the injustices with animals? And I say, if I see any of that, I don't stick my head in the sand, but I look away intentionally. I look towards something that makes my heart soar or makes me feel loved or loving or, anything that can get you in a more loving place or in a more loving vibration is going to save those animals faster than you dwelling on it, looking at it. So I am finding a solution. I am helping the animals by focusing on love. Or what can I do to be proactive for that situation in a loving way that makes me feel empowered and everybody involved feels really good. Like there's this one gal who said she couldn't face going into a shelter because she would just fall apart at how sad this situation is. And I said, well, here's your challenge. You go into a shelter and you look at it from the best possible perspective. Get yourself worked up to go in there. And you think about how incredible it is that these animals have food and water and shelter and that they get played with and they have people who care about them and people who come in and pet them and all kinds of things. And they're in this wonderful temperature. They're not cold. They're not hungry. They're not, they're in an ideal place and they don't know whether they're going to go to another home or not. So they're not sitting there going, oh, I really wish that, necessarily. I mean, some of them are, but, it's like if you can go in there with the best possible outlook on it, then you will feel good. They will feel good. Both of you will benefit from it, and that's really all that matters because if you walk into any situation with negativity, that's what you're bringing to it. So even if it's sadness, it's still negativity. And what do you think the animal is going to feel when you hold the animal? And what do you think you're producing more of?
They get the negativity right off the bat.
Yeah.
They have, in many ways, animals are more in tune with our energetic selves than we are.
Yeah, and I have this really great exercise on my website. The title of the blog is It's All Just Energy. And I've got a number of exercises on there, but one of them, says, thank you, God, that the animals are in shelters. And then what you do is you list 1 through however many you can, hopefully 5 to 10 or more, and you write down why animals in shelters, why that's a benefit, why that's an advantage, why that's a good thing. And it's like Byron Katie even says, if God is good, and he is, why is this a good thing? And it's kind of like that. Like you just make a list and you start to realize, how each of these things is a really awesome thing. If you think about it, animals going into shelters, man, they've got it incredible. They get these free surgeries, they get neutered, they get spayed, they get any kind of treatment for whatever they need. What other cat gets? So many cats are neglected and don't get taken care of, and, they're out there suffering. And these cats, man, they've got it made.
Yeah, well, if you look at a cat in a shelter versus the cat who is out in the wild and homeless, and eventually they become part of the ecosystem because they become part of the food chain. And if you think of
Well, and the way that they die is even incredibly humane.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
even
true.
if they have to be put down. I can't think of a better way. If I was an animal, that's the way I'd want to go.
If
I
I,
wouldn't want to get eaten or...
no, as a human, I'm good with that. That would be a good way to go, is to just lie down and go to sleep. That would be
Right.
really good. You know, I wanted to mention to you,
Yeah.
because this conversation that I'm having with Amy Satori, this is all about energy. We're talking about the type of work that she does and the energy. And for those of you who might be out there that have trouble relating to what she's talking about energy-wise, let me tell a real quick story. In my day job, I drive a bus for a living. It's a city bus, and as many as 60 people can get on the bus and be riding around all at the same time. What I've discovered is that based upon how I treat the situation, if I am upbeat and positive and say nice things to people and smile, there is a different energy on that bus than if I, being the bus driver, am cranky and negative and yelling at people and da-da-da-da-da, then the energy completely switches to something that is far less positive. And that's where trouble happens on buses, and my opinion, after 8 years of driving, is that that energy turns into a negative energy, and then that can grow as well as just like positive energy grow. And so if me as a bus driver, if I do negative things, I get negative things. If I do positive things, I get a positive response, and the day goes much better. And I think that happens in all professions. But it's for people that don't think about energy as being that. Isn't that really one of the simplest ways that we can control what happens in our lives?
Yeah, I mean, that's just an awesome example. And companies disguise it as calling it customer service. They put a name on it that sounds logical, that sounds like, you know, normal people can say it and not get into trouble or anything.
That's right. So
but really, they're saying that. They're basically saying treat people with a big smile and treat them really great, because they'll feel great, you'll feel great, and everything will go great. Well, that's energy.
Well, and you know, to my knowledge, every major, in even minor religious program or doctrine, the treat your neighbor as yourself and be positive are two of the major points that they always bring out. Treat your neighbor as yourself, as you would want to be treated. Treat other people, and that's how the energy grows between us all.
Yeah, well, and I will tell you, even taking it a little bit of a step deeper and further than that, is that, and Matt Kahn puts this really, really well. If you watch his video on twin flames and soulmates, it's phenomenal. But basically, our judgments come from, you know about projection, how what you see in somebody else, whether positive or negative, or aspects of yourself that either need healing or need noticing. So, like, if somebody's comparing themselves to others and they're jealous, it's usually traits that they have themselves that they've kind of disowned, and they're perfectly capable of being that if they just, you know, worked on those traits some more, like public speaking or whatever the trait is. And then, you know, something negative, if somebody's a liar, you might be lying to yourself or deceiving yourself in some way. So we know about classic projection, but when you said, you know, treat your neighbors as you do yourself, there's a little bit of judgment in there, and it's a little feeling of, you know, if I don't, then I'm not being a good neighbor, I'm not being a good person. So taking it a little bit deeper than that would be that you love yourself, that you don't judge yourself for judging others. And I know that sounds like, well, if I don't judge myself, I'm not going to be able to control myself, you know?
No, you just gave me an epiphany. You want to hear my epiphany?
I would love to hear it, yeah.
What you said was, because what I said is love or treat other people as you would like to be treated or as you are treated yourself. But what if you don't like yourself very much?
Right.
What if you don't accept yourself for who you are 100%? then you can't love or accept anybody else for who they are at 100% because you haven't given yourself a break.
Exactly. And that's what's happening, and people aren't even realizing it. And they're thinking that they're judging somebody, but in reality, they're really judging themselves. So,
and the sad thing, it's a story that they made up.
Yeah, and it's all to discuss. It's all to kind of cover over their lack of love for themselves. But you know what an easy exercise is to love yourself? It is so easy that you'll be like, why haven't I been doing this since I was 2?
Because I haven't met you yet.
By now.
I didn't meet you when I was 2.
It took me this long, too.
Yeah, so go ahead.
It's taken me time, too.
Exactly. Share with our audience what exercise you would recommend.
Oh, it's so simple, so easy, and you basically just, when you catch yourself thinking something judgmental about somebody or something, you just place your hands on your heart, or you can do this in your mind, because sometimes you don't want to be so obvious with it. So you just put your hands over your heart and you say, I'll pretend to be you. I love you, Kevin, even when you're judging that person that just walked by. I love you, Kevin, even when you just made that big mistake and really, hurt somebody. I love you. In fact, you know what, Kevin? I love you so much that I don't care what you do to screw up or what you do to anybody. Even if it's on purpose, I love you more and more and more every minute, every second, every hour of every day, and there's nothing you can possibly do to shake my love for you. That's how you treat yourself. That's how you talk to yourself.
And
in doing so,
and that's coming from
when
your
you
higher
treat
self.
yourself, and when you treat yourself that way, that's how you end up treating others.
It's interesting. To my way of thinking, a lot of people that display anger and jealousy and all the negative emotions, fear, because everything starts from fear, and it's because they are fearful themselves, angry themselves, jealous themselves. If you weren't jealous, it wouldn't matter what somebody else did. You would bless them as a significant other. Say they decided they wanted to have a relationship with somebody else. If you didn't feel jealousy towards that and you felt love towards them, you would say, go do what you need to do. It's okay. I love you anyway.
Yeah. And even bringing it back to this place again, if you loved yourself enough, you would let them walk away and be happy. So that, I'm single and I'd like to find somebody, but I'm not looking for it at the same time. And at the same time, the thing that's on my list is let us love ourselves immensely, because that's more important. Because then we're going to love each other the right way.
And by the way, Miss Single Amy is Amy Satori. You can go to www.amysatori.com and you can leave her a message there if you would like to do a number of things. If you'd like to, I don't know, ask her out on a date perhaps or something like that, or if you want to talk to her about the energy work that she does, the ability she has to help you become more of who you really are.
And I just had the sweetest, yeah.
So go ahead.
I just had the sweetest thing happen this weekend at a holistic fair I was at. And I had this little 7-year-old comes up, and he had this fear, and so we had to work through some of his perspectives on things. And I asked him, I tried to teach him this loving himself thing, and I said, okay, so if you have a bully at school who's being really mean to you, do you think he deserves more or less love? And he says, more love. And I said, why? And he says, well, because he's probably not getting much, if he's acting like that. And I said, that's good that you see that. And then I said, so say one of your classmates is lying to you. I said, then do you think they need more or less? And he said, less. And I said, why is that? Because they've probably gotten too much love. That was so cute. And I just said, that's a good observation too. I could see where you can see that, that's really awesome. But you know what the truth is? And he's like, what? And I said, you can't possibly ever get or give enough love. Love transforms everything, and love always wins. So how'd that feel? And he was like, wow.
Wow, you can, and the interesting thing about that, Amy, is what you just did there. This child is 7 years old. He'll remember that conversation. So he gets to look forward to the rest of his life practicing what he learned at 7, rather than what most of us get, which is, don't talk too much, don't get into trouble, don't do this, don't do that, and by the way, you're too fat, you're too short. Most of us get all of that.
Yeah.
And so how do you suggest, are there any other exercises that you would recommend for people to retrain themselves to not have that voice in your head that always says you're not? How do you change that?
I have another really great, really easy one. And this one comes from Bentinho Massaro. And basically he says to just do like mini meditations throughout the day that are like 2 to 3 seconds long. So this makes it so easy because all you have to do is just be conscious enough to make the decision just for a couple seconds, just 2 or 3 seconds, for at least 12 times a day. And think of how easy that is. You could be, think of something you do frequently. You eat frequently. How about just before you eat, you meditate for even 2 to 5 seconds. Just totally not think about anything.
Some people would call that prayer.
Yeah, except they're usually speaking in their mind.
Well, exactly. Well, and
ideas and
the thing is, that's a really good lesson. Is that because in a lot of traditions, religious traditions, they pray before they eat. Well, just meditate for a couple of seconds before you eat, and
just quiet your mind and not the whole idea is that so. A lot of us that, do all this thinking, think, have just like these little tiny cracks into getting through to their consciousness, to the awareness of where they're at, or being able to receive the intuitive guidance that they really desperately want. So what this exercise does is it just broadens those cracks. It just makes those cracks a little bit wider, and a little bit wider, and a little bit wider. The more frequently they do it, the more often that they do it, the more those cracks get bigger and eventually just break. Until you're really able to, without even knowing you're doing it, or you're walking around just totally in the moment. And then you'll receive these incredible divine inspirations from seemingly nowhere, and have this really great idea, or these epiphanies, or Satori. These little aha moments of, oh my gosh. You can't really receive that while you're blah, 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 blah in your head.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, and the next question was going to be, how do you receive that? But we're too busy with too much of the guck of the day-to-day stuff that goes on that we miss the messages that we're given.
Yeah, we're still being given those messages. We're just ignoring them. And I'll give you an example would be, have you ever thought, I better grab my bag? And then you head out the door without it because you were busy and you didn't pay much attention to it. And then you took off, and then all of a sudden you're in a meeting and you realize the item that you needed for that meeting was in that bag.
Yep.
But logically, at the moment you remembered or thought to bring the bag, you thought, well, that's illogical. I'm not going to be going hiking. And it was totally not even something that was related to hiking, but something that was in that bag anyway that you could have used in the meeting. So
I have learned, because you're absolutely right. It used to happen to me all the time, where I would think a thought. I thought I was thinking the thought, but the thought was given to me. Don't forget this or do that. And then I wouldn't do it because it would be like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then it came back that I needed to do whatever it was that thought was about.
Yeah.
Because that was coming from those 10 people that were around your computer as you were typing. Those 10 people are always there. They're saying, now don't forget to take your lunch. Yesterday you forgot and you were hungry. Don't forget. And yet then we go, oh, I never mind. And then we're out the door and we forget our lunch and then we're hungry all day. And then they say, I told you. But we don't listen to any of that.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you.
Go ahead.
I'll give you an example of a real, like, what? What in the world? I was at a trailhead and I had some canned food I was planning to donate to, like a canned drive coming up. And then I had about $1,500 in my purse. Yeah. And I thought, I'm just going to take a quick little hike. It's not going to take very long. I'm going to stick my purse back behind the seat discreetly and have my canned goods, where they were on the back seat, about to be delivered. So I go on the hike and I come back, and on my way, I was told, and my intuition had told me, just put the cans outside. And I thought, what sense does that make? Why in the world would I put those cans outside my car? So I didn't listen to it. I left. I came back, and my windows were busted out. And guess what was taken?
The canned food. And your water.
And guess what wasn't taken?
The purse?
Yeah, the purse and the money were still there.
Oh, that person is mad now. If they're listening to this, they're like, oh, dang it. I had it all, and
But they were hungry, apparently, or, well, I don't know what that was about.
They must have been really hungry. I
don't know what that was about. Something.
Yeah. Well,
or they didn't see the purse, or whatever, I might have dashed it in. I just remember going, I would have seen the purse. If I would have, broken into a car, I would have seen it. But, yeah, so that's an example.
Yeah, and then, of course, they're saying, see, I told you, you need to listen to me. We know what we're talking about.
Even if it sounds crazy. Yeah, even if it sounds totally nuts, just do it. Even if you don't think you're going to be in sun that day and you're told, bring sunglasses, bring the sunglasses. You'll be in the sun, or you'll need them, or somebody will need them, and you'll give them to them.
And so that translates into have faith. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in the directions that you're given, because they're real, and it's not a figment of your imagination.
Yeah, and your life they help your life run so much easier and smoother if you listen. If you just quiet your mind and just listen to the subtle promptings.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is coming from a lady. Now, I want you to remember this because 2 months ago, she was living in Texas, and she gets a message, and she ends up in Boulder, Colorado, and she just literally picked up her stuff and moved to Boulder, Colorado. She didn't seem to have a plan, but she was given a plan when she got there. And things are moving exponentially for her because and Amy, isn't it true, help me with this, but isn't it true that if you listen, you will be rewarded greatly?
Tremendously. If you listen and you translate everything in a positive way, I have to add yes.
Yes.
Because, some people listen and they might interpret it in a negative way or a worrisome way. So you have to look at it.
Yeah.
I have, and I don't know if I shared this in the last video or not, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but there are a couple of really key things I say to myself, and Bentinho Massaro is the one who had talked about this initially. I just kind of maybe put my own twist on it, but a couple of things that I say to myself constantly, every single day, all the time, is I am so completely and totally supported in all ways and always. And I feel that to the core. And then the other is that everything always goes so incredible for me. And I do it like every single time something incredible happens. I just reinforce it because it just blows my mind.
What's those positive affirmations? Because that is, again, and we were talking about energy to begin with, you're putting out a positive energy that is being reinforced by the energy coming back at you from your higher self and from your guides. And so it allows you to move forward in some really, even, I'll give you a great example. When you're driving and you're in a hurry and you are late, say you're late for work, and have you ever been driving and every light seems to turn red right before you get there, and the light seems to take all that much longer? You're being given a gift at that moment, even though you're thinking you may be yelling at the light, and you're being given a gift of patience. And if you look at it like I'm being given a gift rather than isn't this awful, then good things will come from that.
Yeah, or you realize that you just were spared from an accident somehow.
Exactly. Or you'll find that you end up being on time anyway. So all that worry and all that consternation that you had was for nothing, and all it did is make your day lousy. So don't make your day lousy. Amy, I have to say, this conversation has been really, really wonderful. We need to do this again. Obviously, we're going to do this again because you've got a great message and you've got great things to say. And Amy Satori is her name. www.amysatori.com is the website. Go there. Learn about some of the exercises that she has. You can also get her contact information so you can contact her directly. Because she works with energy, she can work with you and you don't have to be in the same room. Don't know how that works, but as a matter of fact, Amy, tell us how that works.
Well, just like everything is connected and everything is energy, it's basically like you're in the room with me. I can visualize your body and I can see your energy field as if you're standing right in the room with me. There's no difference.
Oh, wow.
And that even applies to deceased people and deceased animals, animals that are alive, all the above.
Well, what's really cool is as it turns out, given your frame of reference, there are no dead people.
Right.
There are no dead dogs.
Right. Yeah.
They've just transformed into something else.
Exactly.
It's like if you're having trouble getting your hand, and you and I have talked about this before, but if you're having trouble getting your mind around this, think about it like this. Do you remember the first car you ever had? Okay, picture that car. Now, do you care whatever happened to that car after you were done using it?
Not necessarily. Yeah.
So that's like our bodies. We are eternal beings having a physical experience. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're eternal beings having a physical experience, and once this is over, we continue.
Yeah. This is just a blip. Just a blip on the radar.
And it doesn't even last very long.
No. It seems like it does, but it really doesn't.
Well, only when we're in the middle of it. And trust me, I'm a little older than you, and it goes fast. So, Amy, before we go, is there one last thing that you would like to tell everybody out there?
Yeah, those things that you're stuck on don't matter. Whatever it is you're stuck on, it really doesn't matter. Just love yourself. Just love yourself, be your best friend, and make your number one goal to love yourself. And in doing that, you'll love everyone else, and everything will just, it'll just work out. It'll be beautiful. Just don't be hard on yourself.
And we've been talking with Amy Satori. She is incredible. Go to her website, www.amysatori.com, And Amy, thank you very much. Love you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Kevin. Love you too. All right. Talk to y'all later.
Listen, children, to a story that was written long ago about a kingdom on a mountain and the valley far below. On the mountain was the treasure buried deep beneath the stone, and the valley people swore they'd have it for their very own. Go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day, on the bloody morning after. One tin soldier rides away. So the people of the valley sent a message up the hill, asking for the buried treasure, tons of gold for which they'd kill. Came an answer from the kingdom, with our brothers we will share all the secrets of our mountain, all the riches buried there. Now the valley cried with anger, mount your horses, draw your sword, and they killed